In the month of June 2017, a statement was released which seemed like a massive blow to the American cinema. Daniel Day-Lewis's retirement. The statement read, Daniel Day-Lewis will no longer be working as an actor. He is immensely grateful to all of his collaborators and audiences over the many years. The decision was as shocking as it was baffling. According to him, acting seemed to die for him on the sets of Phantom Thread. Speaking with Rolling Stone, he talked about his most talked about acting talent, method preparations. He said, people talk, apparently on my behalf, about this torturous preparation period, but it misses the point, because for me, it's sheer pleasure. All this time, the agony we thought he'd be experiencing was actually ecstasy. It was his pleasure, and he made sure it was ours as well. Part of the pleasure in watching him on screen was being able to sit back and savor as he devoured a role with ravenous glee. Other actors pour themselves into their parts, only a few can bring such lip-smacking gusto. He made the craft of acting look like so much damn fun. Here's a list of all the tales regarding his infamous reluctance and mythic levels of preparation. He learned to speak Czech for the unbearable lightness of being. He learned to speak Czech to play the philandering brain surgeon Thomas in The Unbearable Lightness of Being, an adaptation of Milan Kundera's 1984 novel. He spent almost the entire shoot of My Left Foot in a wheelchair. Throughout production, the actor remained in character as the Irish writer Christy Brown with cerebral palsy, never leaving his wheelchair and being spoon-fed by the crew. Talking about his experience, he said, a few people did find that a bit odd. My agent Julian, who is sadly no longer with us, was quite unsettled when he came to visit me on set as I was in character all the time, and apart from anything else, he couldn't understand a word I was saying. So he walked out, had a very quiet aperitif in local hostelry, and from then on just left me to get on with it. Him seeing his father's ghost during a production of Hamlet. During a 1989 production of Hamlet at the National Theatre in London, he saw his father's ghost. He ran from the stage, collapsed backstage, and never returned to theatre again. Talking about it, he said, I had the strange sensation I was talking to my father. What he said to me on that night seemed particularly hard to bear, but I had to leave the stage because I was an empty vessel. I had nothing in me, nothing to say, nothing to give. In a Time interview in 2012, he denied the same, saying, I don't remember seeing any ghosts of my father on that dreadful night. He built a canoe for the Last of Mohicans. If you know anything about Michael Mann's historical epic Last of the Mohicans, you know that Daniel Day-Lewis prepared for the role by learning to track and skin animals, fight with tomahawks, fire and reload a 12-pound flintlock on the run, and most impressively, he built canoes. Well, considering his carpentry background, admit it, you would definitely buy a canoe made by Daniel Day-Lewis if you could. He spent 2 nights in jail for In the Name of the Father. For his role as wrongly convicted Irishman Gary Conlon in Jim Sheridan's drama In the Name of the Father, Daniel Day-Lewis reportedly spent 2 days and nights in a prison cell without food or water. His research also included the film's crew members throwing water and verbal abuse at him. Then, at the end, they had 3 teams of 2 real special branch policemen who interrogated him for 9 hours without stopping. He didn't bathe while making the crucible. According to The Guardian, he stayed on the Massachusetts island in the film set's replica village without electricity or running water, planted fields with 70th century tools, and built his character's house. He certainly wasn't taking any showers, but did he actually refrain from washing himself? We'll never know. He learned to box to play the boxer. In 1997, he crudely tattooed his hands and trained as a real fighter twice a day, 7 days a week for nearly 3 years for the boxer. His trainer, the former world champion Barry McGuigan, remarked that he could have turned professional. He listened to way too much Eminem while making Gangs of New York. In 2002, in Scorsese's Gangs of New York, Daniel Day-Lewis refused to change his threadbare coat for a warmer one and caught pneumonia. He wandered about Rome where Gangs was filmed in character fighting strangers. To get in the twisted headspace of the murderous Bill the Butcher, he would listen to Eminem around 5 every morning, particularly the song The Way I Am. He lived in a shack without his family for the Ballad of Jack and Rose. Though the movie was written and directed by his wife Rebecca Miller, the actor lived in a shack away from his family for the majority of the shoot to sustain isolation. He texted Sally Field in character while making Lincoln. He's always had a thing for playing historical characters, but it was a little weird that he texted his co-star Sally Field, who played Mary Todd Lincoln, in character. Sally told Time magazine he'd sign it, "Yours A." I would text back as Mary, criticizing him for the waste of his time when he might have been pursuing something more productive. This isn't screen acting that can be taught. You can't think of anyone else who would have had the recklessness to play the role in such a way or the conviction to pull it off. Day-Lewis is one of the greatest screen actors of his generation precisely because he's ready to take such risks. Some still speculate that he'll return to acting someday. But Day-Lewis did not seem open to the idea. He stated, "But I did want to draw a line. I didn't want to get sucked back into another project. All my life I've mouthed off about how I should stop acting, and I don't know why it was different this time, but the impulse to quit took root in me, and that became a compulsion. It was something I had to do. Do I feel better? Not yet. I have great sadness, and that's the right way to feel. How strange would it be if this was just a gleeful step into a brand new life?" In his career of 46 years, the actor has won 3 Oscars and won 40 other awards. And yet, the personal disappointment and damage that are his work's private curse cancels all. In his own words, the responsibility of a creative life is both a curse and a blessing. You can never separate them till the day you die. Maybe a future in acting will be again. Maybe. But for now, Reynolds Woodcock was his parting gift, an artist consumed by his fastidious genius who concludes that what he really needs is a long lie down. The actor admitted to sharing Plainview's fever in his previous Anderson film, a mania for acting like his characters for oil and power. "I'm finished," Daniel Plainview finally says. Daniel Day-Lewis, too.